Hey there, this is Joel Hawkins with Boomstick Comics, and today I'm going to have a little Q&A with Ashley Bell, the female lead, and Mickey Keating, the writer and director of the film Carnage Park. Carnage Park will be made available to you within the comfy confines of your own home on July 1st via video on demand. I highly recommend checking out this homage to 70s grindhouse, horror, thriller, suspense films that's truly bound to keep you on the edge of your seat, much like it did me. I hope you enjoy, and always remember to make it back to boomstickcomics.com. Thanks.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I'll scoot into this chair so we can fit right in. Get this appropriate framing going on. How's it going?
Good, good. Where are you guys at right now?
Los Angeles. We're in Silver Lake in the War Room.
In the War Room. Very nice. Very nice. So are you guys doing, what are we doing publicity for these days right now?
Just Carnage Park.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Or, I mean, you know, whatever you want to talk about. Publicity.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I just didn't know if you were on a tour for, say, Psychopaths or anything like that.
Sure, whatever you want.
No worries. Well, we'll kind of jump in. I want to thank you guys both for joining. Because we got to start with one, I'll kind of get into questions for both of y'all, but we'll start with Mickey to begin and kind of go from there if that's all right.
Cool.
Cool. So what took you towards writing and directing?
I mean, I think from the very beginning, I've always just wanted to be a filmmaker from when I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and so it wasn't really anything that took me besides the fact that I don't want to do anything else, and I'm not particularly great at anything else. So yeah, just kind of that, and I love writing a lot, and you know, I'm a huge cinephile, and so it was a natural kind of progression, I guess.
Very nice, very nice. Any reason for horror being that main route to go?
Yeah, I think all the movies that I kind of gravitated towards growing up were always the strange and the unusual, and it started, I guess, with Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was really young, and then, you know, I watched Taxi Driver when I was like 10, and that kind of like had a profound effect.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, and so from there, I love horror films, and I love the kind of opportunity that you get to experiment when you make horror films, and so I've been doing them ever since I graduated school. And
that's awesome. And so, Ashley, along with this, you've got the 2 Last Exorcisms under your belt. I did have a question for you that may be a little strange one to ask, but I would like to know what your thought process is in those reactions, whether it being Nell possessed or Vivian here frantically screaming, because it comes across incredibly authentic. I mean, I don't want to call it acting because it seems too authentic.
Well, thank you. That is so nice of you to say. My journals look akin to something in Homeland, that corkboard at the end of Homeland. You know, it's the joy and the luxury of being able to play great characters. Okay. Nell was a freaking phenomenal character, and I fell in love with her. And when I read Carnage Park, the script was so unpredictable, so many twists and turns, and I love that, you know, no spoilers, but to you, that first punch out that Vivian has, she's not a victim, and she fights, and from that moment on, tracking that character, she was completely unpredictable, and I said, hey, I have to do this. And then working with Mickey, it's a form of heaven for an actor, because there's rehearsal, and then he opens up the table to say, what are your thoughts? Is there anything what interests you about this? Why don't you explore this? And to be able to collaborate on a role like that it hadn't happened since probably The Last Exorcism, working with Daniel on that. And then when you get on set, it's just time to play. Yeah.
That's great. So with that, and so I know that in reading, I Google stalked, we'll say that, as one does these days. You have quite the history in your bloodline, right?
What was
as far as you have quite the bloodline in the business between your mom and dad.
Thank you. Yes. My mom was one of the founding members of the Groundlings.
Yep.
And dad does a lot of voiceover. He does Chaz in the Rugrats and the Smurfs and Transformers and G.I. Joe.
I know.
And my grandparents actually were in vaudeville, and they toured the United States in the Keith Orpheum circuit doing vaudeville performances. My grandfather ran away at 7 to join the circus, so I didn't.
Awesome.
I was fated for this.
So, I mean, was it kind of forever destined to be, or because I know there's a lot of people that grow up in a certain business and they end up kind of being turned from it. However, you've gone into it and you've gone into it well. What all inspired that? I mean, what was the main push there?
Oh, it was being other people. You know, I think originally my parents definitely said no, no way, run for the hills, and then
which you did.
Which I did. Which I said I took it literally in this film, but I listened.
Yeah.
I was joking earlier that like I would spend kind of my summers hanging out with my mom at the Groundlings, and then my evenings going to Blockbuster with my dad and raiding the horror film section. And that's kind of been that's led to my active imagination, and kind of, I think my choice in what I love doing is these truly fascinating scripts that just catch me in these extreme, terrifying circumstances.
Yeah, and on the subject of terrifying, Mickey, what in your own words, I know you've put out some stuff as how you describe Wyatt Moss, but I'd like to hear from you, verbalized, who is Wyatt Moss, and that may also kind of include who influenced him. Mm-hmm. So I'll kind of leave you that open there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I should probably just say what he says in the film, and he's just nobody. He says, I'm just nobody. And I think that kind of sums up everything that I wanted to kind of tell with this kind of story, is that more often than not in real life situations, the monsters are just people. They're nobody. And so when when Pat and I talked, we talked a lot about I think kind of like the throwback 70s survival type horror movies. He really liked this movie called Welcome Home Soldier Boys that he showed me with Joe Don Baker, that I was like, yeah, this is great. And they're like psychopaths in that movie. And Southern Comfort, and even like Deliverance. I mean, Deliverance is so scary, but those guys are just human beings in a way. Yeah. And so that was the jumping off point. You know, as for everything that happens with and to Wyatt Moss in the film, we tried to ground it as close to reality as we possibly could, in a way.
And I know you talked a lot about that in your director's statement, about this being something about horror, or more so that it's different when horror's brought on by real people. Mm. And to me, it's almost more terrifying because that's more realistic. Mm. And so it was fun to see. I really enjoyed the character of Wyatt Moss, and I'm sure that credit goes to Pat as much as you for writing it. And so I want kind of a strange question to ask, but I love drinking. Not so much that I'm an alcoholic, so that's a terrible way to say that.
Let's drink right now together.
Yeah. Well, I just enjoy the attachment, or the kind of the road you can go down in drinking, and so especially with bourbon, the history attached and whatnot. So kind of a question I wanted to ask was, what do you think, and this may be for both of you, what is the drink that you would recommend to people when they watch the film?
You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. It's funny. I would say when watching this movie, I don't know, because I'm such a beer guy, so I would just say either like bathtub moonshine that Wyatt Moss would drink, or the beer of your choice and a lot of it, and people to hang out with while you're watching it. Yeah, that's probably it. If you don't drink water, because hopefully the movie dehydrates you just a bit. But yeah, those ones.
Yeah.
I would propose a drinking game.
Okay.
For video on demand on July 1st.
Okay.
I think beer is a solid choice. That every time you hear a gunshot in this movie, just knock them back.
You're gonna get drunk.
That works.
Have a great 4th of July weekend.
You're gonna get real drunk. Yeah. You're gonna wake up in Carnage Park.
Yeah. Well, with that, and then the shots before getting on the call with you guys, I rewatched. I think it was not the opening clip, but the clip where Ashley, you find the record player, and I want to know what's on that record. What is that? Because it's terrifying.
Oh, thank you. It is an eclectic mix. So basically, the idea that we had for
so scary.
for Wyatt Moss is, he spends a lot of time just kind of recording, and he's got all these like loops playing in his head over and over. So my sound designer and I, Sean Duffy, spent a lot of time building basically the kind of schizophrenic world that Wyatt Moss would record. And so we recorded a whole bunch of different presidential speeches over one another, different kind of things like that. So it's very layered and very unusual. But also because that record presumably has been like baking in the sun forever, you're not really ever supposed to be able to. Hopefully, you're not supposed to hear what exactly is on it in a way.
Yeah, well,
very
read, and I guess in your statement as well that you talked about the types of music that you use between the heist and chase scene being more of a rock and roll as opposed to In the Wilderness being the Vietnamese pop and whatnot. So while prepping for this, I listened to a lot of, I think it was called Saigon Rock and Soul.
Oh yeah.
And so it was very inspiring, and of course reminded me of Sergeant Hartman.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I think in the actual review I wrote, I put that Wyatt Moss seemed like a cross between Leatherface, Sergeant Hartman, and the brother Chet from Weird Science. I don't know if you remember Chet.
Yeah, of course. I'll take that. That's pretty great.
It was a good mix there, and so I really enjoyed that. And so, and actually, I forgot to ask, what with your dad and the voiceover work, what was story time like growing up? Because I imagine that had to have been pretty incredible.
Thank you so much. I had the best bedtime stories in the world. They were these sagas. I remember one time, though, I got pulled out of school. And I think this was probably the defining moment for me. I got pulled out of school in 3rd grade because my dad was doing Deep Space Nine. And I was allowed to go to the Paramount set. So we were walking. I was walking with my mom, and my dad comes out in full-blown alien makeup, like full green, lifted shoes. He was like 8 feet with like green hands, like full-blown alien. And he's walking down, and both my mom and I go, Dad! So,
incredible.
And it's great that that's normal. I love it. I love it. And so, and also for you, I also read you were mentored by a woman named Kathleen Turner.
Yes.
Yes. What was that like?
Oh my God, thank you for bringing that up. Kathleen Turner was incredible. She taught a master class at NYU called Practical Acting, Shut Up and Do It. And class was like a jungle gym. We had her trainer for one class, then Edward Albee came and talked to us on a different class. Then we had an on-camera intensive, and then the final one was she took us on a Broadway stage. We went to the Nederlander Theater, and we did our precious little monologues on stage up at this huge house. And I got on stage and I did my monologue, and she came up to me and she's like, Ashley, wasn't it a ride? And that is Kathleen Turner.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And so that's awesome. And I was doing a little looking through, and I know, Mickey, that you've pulled a lot of people from previous projects onto existing ones. Mm-hmm. And I guess one thing that has to be said, sooner or later you're going to have to do like a battle flick to make everyone available in a film together. Do you have anything lined up for that, or?
Well, it's funny. I think Psychopaths, our new movie, was kind of the first jumping off point into that, because it's a sprawling ensemble, and it was the first time that, I got to have all of these actors that I love so much be in one kind of insane movie. And so, my favorite director is Robert Altman, and he made a film like Nashville with 20 main characters, and so I'd love to be able to get to that point. And so, yeah, I think I'm very devoted. When I find people that I love working with, I'll do anything to work with them over and over and over again. And
Sure.
Yeah, one day you will see my epic, sprawling, insane battle flick.
As long as it's terrifying, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. And so, well, with that, and did you feel that chemistry between the two of you, as well as the others that you've worked with in the past? Did you feel that carry over into Psychopaths well? I mean, was that pretty smooth?
I don't know. Did we feel that chemistry as well?
Yeah, it was quite possibly the coolest thing to literally be up at Sundance with Carnage Park, and then to be talking about psychopaths because it was
That's
going to,
awesome.
it was up on the horizon. Like, it's a dream. That's a dream to be able to work with a director like Mickey and have that shorthand and just have this opportunity to play these characters.
And nothing in the world's cooler than saying, all right, I've worked with Ashley. I know what she could do. Let's try something totally different, and let's go crazy, and let's really kind of flip it out. You know, because I think what's so great about making these movies so quickly within this time span of one another is that you really get to explore and you really get to experiment. And when you have actors that you can trust and really go places with, the possibilities are endless. So I think, yeah, it's I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, and on that, I think I read that you referred to yourself as, or wanting to be, the Woody Allen of horror.
Oh my God, yeah. Woody Allen of horror, Robert Altman of horror. You know.
He's ready for Robert Altman of horror. Woody Allen of horror is amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
I love yes.
Well, more than anything, I want to thank you guys for your time. And before we go, I did want to ask, there's a lot of people that sit in, whether my position or someone else's, that see you guys or the likes of you guys, and whether that's in film or music or arts, period, that are wanting to be there, whether that's just the sense of accomplishment or actually wanting to be on a stage accepting an award. What words would you have of encouragement, and this is for both of you, to have for those guys that are maybe listening or watching?
That the amount of success that you get, there is an iceberg worth of bullshit that you have to put up with on every single movie that you ever make. And it's never easy, and there are plenty of times where at least I do, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but you lay and you're anxious and it's terrible, but the reward to even go and film and capture something makes it all worthwhile. And so, yeah, if you want to be up there accepting the awards, and that's it, it's going to be really, really hard.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to say focus, that's always, and fall in love with doing the work.
Sure.
It's all you have at the end of the day. It's all that, as actors, I always say the hard part is in between the job. When you get on the job, you're privy to all these creative minds, working with Mickey, working with Mac, the cinematographer, working with all the actors on the set. It's vacation. It's heaven getting that moment. So
I'm sure you guys do it well. And so again, thank you guys, and look forward to what's to come. And on behalf of myself and the entire Boomstick Comics world, we appreciate you. And again, we'll look forward to everything to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.